Howdy. So I'm looking kind of haggard. I've been sleep deprived. I've been hit at close range with electromagnetic waves from a microwave emitter. I was able to perceive the subliminal voice-to-skull messages, programming messages. Now I'm looking off in this direction with paranoia at that car with the opaque windows. And they don't fit a profile, you know. Well, they do. I mean, there's some through lines. These people who work for these corporate security firms, and I don't mean people out there, you know, in a uniform with a radio doing some perimeter patrol and some industrial sites and warehouse. I mean, people who are handling cyber security and all. It branches out into all these fields, and they target people who are doing something adverse to the interests of that corporation. You know, it's in the realm of, this is private black ops. You know, black ops are also termed civil ops. And they may have other appellations for them at this time that I don't know about. Been out of the picture for a long time. So I found a new place to stay. Maybe some opportunity to produce some art products, maybe I can make a, you know, I can have a jig made for me, a CNC machinist, and I can mass produce my, we were calling it a switch, or a speed switch, but that's a trademarked name, and so we call it a quick switch coupler. A highly unique product. Anyway, I could be mass producing those soon. So what happened to me, and what caused me to delete my Bricked Away Infinity channel, you know? Which I had, you know, I'd worked so hard on, and, you know, anything can be better executed. You know, anybody could do a better job. But I was under 24/7, you know, continual assault. And the place I was staying, I mean, right below the floor, the tenants there, they were, you know, they had moved in a team, and they were microwaving me 24/7. They were cooking me, you know, causing all this free radical damage. They were programming me with subliminal voice-to-skull manipulation. All these old mind control scripts, some of which were written hundreds of years ago. This stuff is really twisted. It's really sick. They'll take popular songs. They basically have you. They use your consciousness to take some popular song and then make some new lyrical version of it that's you know, causes you to be very dispirited, and this is playing over and over in your head. And this is a technique that's been done to me my whole life. You know, there's some twisted version of When I Ruled the World by Coldplay, you know. Like, never again, always pretend. Twilight's the king. I don't know the other lyrics. They just escape me, and that's a good thing, you know. Yeah, does the walk on by. Here comes Johnny. Da, 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 da. Anyway. Oh God. Instead of, yeah, they made, you know, they did some, at the age of 7, they created some, they had me create a twisted dark side version of The Walk of Life by Dire Straits. I was on LSD, you know, at the time they dosed me up on LSD. There's more, I mean, anyway, so it seems like, you know, this new place I'm staying, you know, it seems as though they're using frequencies through the Wi-Fi transmitter to target me that way. Now, it's not that affecting, but it's a little rough. I'm still, you know, able to get to sleep, and but I wake up in a kind of a very discouraged state. And in some ways, this place, it's kind of a challenging environment and requiring a lot of reorganization and careful negotiation. So I don't know what to expect. But so why is it that I deleted my videos? Why did I? Let's get a new angle here. This might be interesting. No. So why? Yeah, let's have you looking down on me. That's easier. So why did I delete my videos? Well, they had me so sleep deprived. I mean, they would awaken me in this sweat, you know. I was so cooked. They were using enormous amounts of electricity. I checked the meter, it was like 8,800 something kilowatts. You know, and it's never been that high before. Never, ever been that high before. These people are using 4 or 5 times as much electricity as we are. You know, these are the new tenants now. You know, they just moved in a new team. And they've been waiting for a year. For a whole year. It's nothing if you have the means to conduct these operations. It's nothing at all. And this is becoming... This is commonplace. This is not something new. You know. People protesting the Vietnam War back in the 70s, they were targeted in a similar way, you know. Maybe not as refined techniques, you know, in terms of the frequency sets, because they didn't have little, you know, microprocessors. Memories indicate that I've recovered. I was under mind control at the time. They put me on hypnotic drug initially. So you got all these people, you know, not these low-level pawns, not knowing about their not being fully conscious of their role in these black operations. Anyway, I'm going off on another tangent. So I go down to Eugene. To pick up some stuff. There's somebody I wanted to talk to as well, you know, down here. She wasn't there, and I stashed my stuff in my mother's apartment, and where I'd previously been staying. And my brother, I come back in the evening to find out that my brother had barricaded the door, and he's not going to let me in to even get my stuff. It's a cold night. Yeah, I don't even have a hat, to maintain my my temperature, and I'm thinking about, well, this is going to be a rough night. I've nearly frozen to death before, and it's scary, and anyway, so I break into the lower apartment. I go through the window, and there they are, and I wasn't willing to hurt them, these people who had been trying to kill me for over a year, by a method that leaves no evidence. It's the perfect crime. And anyway, I just couldn't bring myself to really do any significant damage to this guy. And though it would have been really, really easy. So it was my plan to subdue him, and demand to know where the microwave gun was, take it as evidence, call a lawyer, have them take it into evidence. Shoot some video of the thing, But as I was trying to subdue him, he ended up punching me, a few times, but it wasn't anything, and then I was grappling with him. Could have directed his crown into the wall, could have swept out his leg, could have broke his shoulder, could have snapped his wrist. Had a knife on my belt, could have just jammed it into his neck, got in and up against his spine, cut his jugular, But so my brother comes down. He comes through the broken glass. Says, "You're not gonna hurt anybody else, Gabe." I just didn't want to be in another conflict with my brother. So at that point, I decided to, to cease what I was doing. But he actually thought this guy, this perpetrator, this guy working for the security firm, he actually initially thought that my brother was going to come in to help me. He said, you're not going to hurt anybody else. And he was really scared. Then he heard, Gabe, my name. So anyway, yeah, had I just handled things better, this would have turned into some kind of international news story, maybe. I don't know, But instead, I get, they microwave me from the utility closet that adjoins the cell for 30 days, non-stop, doing this conditioning dreams and all this. It was ridiculous. It's like they running programs to condition you against committing crimes, and they just do this with some people. I'm not a criminal, though. I'm a businessman, trying to be a productive, creative citizen. And then I get, then I go to the state hospital for 11 months. And 6 months of that time, they have me on, involuntarily, they have me on this risperidone. And it makes me suicidal. And it gets incrementally worse to where every day I'm having thoughts of wanting to kill myself, and I'm promising myself that once I get out and can easily just do away with myself, that's what I'll do. I even contemplated maybe swallowing a sock or getting up on the bed and dive bombing down to break my crown, but maybe I'd just wind up paralyzed, and even in even more of a hellish condition. So I mean, a lot. I'm just trying to recover at this point. I'm trying to rebuild myself. This last year has taken a lot out of me, and I'm frazzled, and I need some help. Maybe I don't need help. Maybe I can. Maybe I can work my way out of this situation and make good. But let me say, I'm an excellent cook. Everybody says so. I mean, a really superb cook. I like an orderly environment, and I like a clean and orderly environment. I could, I'll do my part, and maybe then some. I'm good with kids. I could, I like teaching people all kinds of things, and I'm a, very, pedantic, quite a teacher. So, and I can usher people around. What's it called? Chauffeur people around and run errands and do all kind, do that kind of stuff for you. Just that, I'm because of this schizophrenia diagnosis, it's it kind of makes it tough to get a regular job. Not that that's really what I want to do ideally, but anyway, and I have had to even do it manually, switch it over to this one. Anyway, there are different ways to do that, but before then, during the McCarthy era, they had they're going after communist sympathizers, members of the Communist Party. I myself, I'm not a socialist, I mean, I very much respect the ideas of Ayn Rand. I've read all her books, but this sort of fascist rule, this where these real serious capitalists can destroy your life if you because they don't like you. Maybe you cost them some money. Just try to do some good. You blew the whistle on something. You merely pointed something out. That a lot of people don't know, and then they come after you. It's a game. It's a sport. It's a eugenic sport. Anyway, they made these communists or they drove some of them crazy. They made some of them believe they were schizophrenic because they were hearing voices in their head. This voice of skull effect, it has a very distinct, at least for me, with my mental architecture, it has a particular quality. It's like this black and white quality. It's kind of hollow. It comes from the center, very center of your skull. Sometimes, you close your eyes and you'll see these people, you see these people around, they're laughing at you. They're saying I own you and all this kind of stuff. So these people who are doing this, they work for these corporate security firms, and they have a background. They might have a background in military intelligence, or they have some security degree. They consider you to be some kind of terrorist. It's really despicable. And they'll put people to work who have something against you, have something personally against you. They have something of a personal nature against you. They don't like your views. I put out a anti-circumcision video. I don't like genital mutilation, of the male or female variety. I think that's a fairly, commonsensical view. I don't believe in cutting off parts, cutting out parts when it's not necessary. It used to be they didn't know what the tonsils were for, and so I said, well, we can cut those out. They're just useless, and we could charge money for that because they could become infected. Let's extract the wisdom teeth. Yeah, they can rot. I've got my wisdom teeth. I mean, they're not rotting. I use them to grind up food, right? It's the first stage of digestion. It's important that you have all your teeth. People want to cut out breast tissue that is not cancerous, just because somebody's got a family history of breast cancer. All this is very ill-advised, I'm not trying to cock block here, guys. I'm not trying to say that, my own father was circumcised, so it's like saying I didn't want my own father and mother to get together. It's ridiculous. And my father, he was a good man, but it was his opinion, in fact, that he would have been better off had they not cut him. He had read some book by some famous yogi in India, some kind of guy who could levitate and meditate in a snowstorm in the Himalayas, and submerge himself underwater for 30 minutes, and not without scuba equipment, and one of these kind of guys who knows all kinds of things, esoteric stuff about the human body. It was his opinion that every part has multiple purposes. It all works in this synergetic fashion, and it doesn't make sense to go removing any of that. The body is sacred, and there's cell-to-cell communication between the genitals of a man and a woman. There's complex things going on. There's absorption of different chemicals and so on. It actually forges a stronger connection, a stronger bond. It helps those people stay together, and there's some studies that indicate that men who have been circumcised have higher divorce rates. So I'm just trying to protect people. And I'm sorry, friend, if they mutilated you, as a kid, it's not your fault, and you could be you might be a really great person, a real good catch and all that, nobody should look down on you. I just think that in the future this should just be done less. That's all. I'm not a terrible person. I'm not a terrible person. I love everybody. Ultimately, I want what's best for everybody. So I don't know what it was. Was it telling people about xanthine oxidase and homogenized milk products, and saying that, hey, half and half will clog up your arteries. The xanthine oxidase scars them up, and your liver produces this cholesterol to patch it up, and causing, so you got circulation problems if you drink homogenized half and half. You should have to shake it up and, to put it in suspension again, like you used to have to, like 80 years ago before they invented homogenization, And really, you should be drinking raw milk, and raw goat's milk is probably the best digested. And so my promotion of unhomogenized, natural, raw milk products, that's a terrible thing, and that could cost people money. And I said, as a harm reduction measure, you can request heavy cream. And so maybe that's cost Starbucks some money. I don't know. Certainly, it might have cost them a minor amount of money that adds up over time to the tune of millions of dollars. Sure, but hey, maybe their customers are healthier. Maybe they live longer. I don't know. Maybe. That makes me a terrible person, who needs to be destroyed. So, why is it that, how do they get me to delete my videos, How do they get me to, man, my soul is just, it's been dying in great agony, I'm getting up on the horse again, Got to make the best of it. So I was. They wouldn't let me sleep. I tried to check in. I was in between things. I'd just gotten out of the state hospital because they'd got me finally to do something rash, I broke in. Well, I'd come back to Eugene. I was homeless. I'd been alienated from my family. And, family members, it's very common for them to, to be in denial about what's happening. And they won't watch anything. They won't consider any evidence you put forth. And, there was this great video I encountered recently that explains the situation and explains what is typically going on in cases of gang stalking. But it was like pulling teeth to get anybody to watch it. And these people, your family members, they get targeted with voice to skull, subliminal, manipulation. So they tend to turn against you, and there's a lot of stress. I was getting so angry that I was punching out chair slats. I punched a hole in the wall. I accidentally pushed my brother through a window, and he cut himself, on the glass, and it was. He thought I tried to kill him, So I was homeless, and I had enough money to get a place, to rent a room from somebody. More than enough. But I found that I couldn't post Craigslist ads. I couldn't answer them. My phone got hacked. It was frequently shutting down. I'd pay the bill. Then I found out my website had been hacked. I found out my website had been hacked. That essentially people couldn't order my product. And I have yet. This is like a year later. I wound up in this damn state hospital. My lawyer did not want to handle my case, so she, colluded with a judge to send me there. So I essentially ended up serving the sentence, without being convicted, without ever going to trial. So getting back to it. They were keeping me up. For weeks. They kept me up for weeks. I would camp out in some dead space, some park, some heavily wooded area. I'd try to, be someplace inaccessible and hidden away. They were tracking me. Night after night, I would hear, within 30 minutes of bedding down, I would hear some stake being driven into the ground. They had to ground this microwave emitter because it's so powerful. And then I'd feel these weird sensations through my body, and the sensation of being cooked, like these demonic hands like snaking through me. And they can do all kinds of different stuff. They can make you think that your body's being consumed by maggots. They can make you think that there's these etheric rats, like biting into you, consuming you. Makes you wonder how they actually obtain these frequencies. Through torturing people to death. That's what they did. And they passed these little files around. These machines are programmable. They can, you insert a USB drive, and you can run these different compilations, different frequency sets. So I hadn't slept for 3 weeks, and I go back to Eugene to pick some stuff up. I'm thinking, Portland may not be the place for me, because maybe it's because I wrote this book that takes place, most of it takes place in Portland, or half of it does. Kind of an infamous book about black ops and mind control, and, we find out it's just a science fiction novel at the end. We find out that it's a video game, like a virtual reality video game where you actually experience the emotions and the thoughts of a person, like a historical person. Like in the future, these historical, like virtual reality, complete sensorium type video games are popular, at least in my little view of the world. And this is all based on this technology that I was subjected to in the Marine Corps. They have these black ops networks, and it's just connected. These are loosely connected to the CIA. You got people joining military intelligence and psychological operations units, and they coordinate all this stuff, from what I gather, from what my